ditch and they think, that poor sod. And then they get out and they realize it's the other car that they were following, which had blown a tire. And of course, then did the same thing, hit the groove, flipped it off and dropped it onto the side of the road.
Oh my goodness.
Well, luckily you got a bunch of big, strong guys there to pick the car up and put it back on the road.
Yeah, and of course, all their gear is strapped to the outside of the car, so they had to go around and pick up all their stuff and put it back together. But
somebody should make a movie about this.
I think, indeed, I think it was, I want to say 34 is when the Grays got a bus, and that's when there's all kinds of hijinks and stories from any team of what happens on the bus. And I read a lot of great stories that I won't go into because they really don't count into what we're talking about.
Yeah.
It's really interesting and really, really fun to read.
Oh yeah, no, so yeah, a movie must be made. Hollywood, get on that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Arnold Schwarzenegger, I want you in that movie.
I don't.
Yeah.
So a lot of the stats weren't counted for his batting average.
Right.
So is the general feeling that he was
better
that much?
He was better than what was recorded.
Okay.
Than what was recorded in official games in the records that were left over.
Well, it's hard to say though because he might have done more poorly, south of the border and stuff like that. It's just since all this stuff is unknown, it's really hard to say precisely what his stats are.
Yeah, well, I do know that he was a higher paid player because he was better at bat, and he was more of a consistent player because, we're going to talk about what is considered the quote-unquote great of the time, which is Babe Ruth. Babe Ruth struck out so much, and he was so notorious for his strikeouts. It's that swing and a miss. We've all done this when we were kids, that giant arcing swing and you totally miss. Gibson wasn't like that. He didn't have this crazy wild swing. Baseball players, when they swing, it's from their arms and their shoulders through their torso, and then they rotate their hips and they use their legs. And that's how they get that giant wide swing, which gets all the power. Gibson didn't move his legs, which meant that he had all of it was from his arms and his shoulders and partially his torso. So he had a hell of a lot more control in where he put the bat.
I see.
That's why I think that his numbers are better than what we have recorded at the Hall of Fame.
At the very least, they're not worse.
They're not worse.
Either
at the
they're
very least,
about the same or
Yes.
much better.
Yeah.
Yes.
So
That's fair.
He was a good player.
Yeah. No. So okay. Get off soapbox. Here's a great example for he was better than what the official records have. He played in 1933. He played for the Pittsburgh Crawfords. Somehow somebody at the Pittsburgh Crawfords did an amazing job of record keeping. So we have the 1933 season records.
Even though they don't count towards the Hall of Fame.
Oh, they do, don't they?
I think they do.
Okay.
But this is a solid year's worth of numbers rather than everything else, which is kind of hit and miss. Part seasons here and there, not all games. In 33, with the Crawfords, Josh played 137 games and had batted 512 times.
Okay.
He hit 239 times. 55 of those were home runs, so that gives him a batting average of 467.
Wow.
That's amazing.
That's
incredible.
An amazing number.
Yeah.
And we'll talk about the home runs because that's what the story is about. We've got a number of home run stories. So in Monessen, Pennsylvania, hope I pronounced that right, he hit a home run that was measured at 512 feet. In Kaminsky Park, which is in Chicago, he hit a ball hard enough that it hit a loudspeaker that was at the edge of the field. That loudspeaker, by the way, was 8 feet up, and he hit it so hard that the ball lodged in the loudspeaker, which is really hard to hit.
And it was how far was it from home plate?
That was 435 feet.
Yeah, it was still going strong at the time.
Yeah. Yeah, if it
had a lot of distance left in it.
It really did. In his first season at Yankee Stadium against the Black Yankees, he hit a ball which went into the bullpen, which is over 500 feet from the home plate, because the bullpen was at that stadium was at the back of the stadium. And he was playing, this is one of his off-season games, he was playing in San Juan in Puerto Rico. He hit a home run that cleared not only the fence of the ballpark that he was in, but it also cleared the fence of the prison that was next door to the ballpark.
Yeah.
So the prisoners got a free baseball.
They
That's
did.
kind of cool.
Which was 525 feet.
So that's still, this doesn't really establish that he knocked it out of the park at Yankee, because that was 585 feet, right?
It was 580 feet.
And then it would have had to actually have been more than that, because it would have had to go up in an arc, clear the wall,
it would have
go
to been
well beyond the wall.
At least at the top of its arc by the 580-foot mark, yes, if not higher.
It would have had to have been far,
which means it would have gone much farther than
Yeah.
that 580 feet had it cleared the wall. You're absolutely right.
So he did hit a lot of
Yes.
really hard, long, far.
But nowhere near the, 700 feet we're talking about here?
Well, there are
Or
some
600,
hits that potentially could have, but again, it's the records. He did this, a lot of this stuff was in ball fields, literally a ball field, and they couldn't find the ball, or it hit a building that was across the street or stuff like that. And while people who will sit down and do the math have been able to do that math on some great hits, Josh Gibson's hits weren't recorded, so we don't know, if it hit the such and such hotel across the street on the third floor or anything like that. We don't have that to then make the calculation of how far he could have gone.
Yeah, I know, but I know in Yankee, he did hit the far wall.
Yeah.
He did hit that, so which is a considerable distance.
Yeah, that's the 580-foot mark. But Joe is already very happily, almost gleefully, by the look in his eye, drawing us into the second theory, which is that he didn't do it. The anecdotal evidence points out, as Joe has said, that he might not have been able to do it. I did some back-of-the-envelope math, which is where I got the 580-foot number, because I found old plans for the Yankee Stadium in that era, because the stadium kept getting changed over time. They'd add more and more to it, but it was 580 foot based on that. And again, like we talked about in the beginning, I believe the wall was about 50 foot high. There's a lot of the accounts of Josh's hits that say that he wasn't the kind of player that would hit a high arcing ball. He actually hit them low and hard. So like that one where it hit the loudspeaker, it was only 8 foot up. So theoretically, maybe it was still climbing, but at 400 and some odd feet, it wasn't going to go much higher.
No, I think 400 feet, it was probably already on the downward side of the arc, I'm guessing.
Yeah, it's quite possible. And the thing about Yankee Stadium, which is referred to, it's called the house that Ruth built after Babe Ruth. He tried to hit it out of the park. He never actually did. There is a game in 1930 where Babe Ruth himself hit a 535-footer, and it went into the stands, it's the right center field bleachers is where it landed.
The black seats.
The black seats, yes, that is exactly where it hit. We have records of, because these are when the records are really good, we are in our white pro league, and actually this is in the 50s, so it wasn't as bad, but the segregation. But Mickey Mantle, he was one that everybody expected to take it out of Yankee Stadium. And there were 3 games where they thought he was going to do it. There's 1955, 1956, and 1963.
And by the way, the one in 63 would have made it out of the park, I'm pretty sure.
It would have.
Yeah.
Well, we're out of the part of where I know things.
Okay, let me give you kind of a description of what's going on here with this. So the 1955 hit went into the bleachers in center field, so that's easy enough to understand. Yankee Stadium had a brass facade around the top of the bleachers.
Right.
The bleachers are several stories, several rows high.
Right.
Yeah, and at the very top of that, there's a roof that covers the top rows of the bleachers.
And then on front of that is a facade.
Exactly.
Which is kind of some arcs with fake pillar-looking things on them. His 56 and his 63 hits hit the facade. The top, it would have gone over had it not hit the facade. Inches to the left or the right, or even feet to the other direction, it would have gone past over center field, and they would have gone out of the park.
Yeah, the 63 one, actually, there was a huge gap in center field, and then on the...
Just a little bit.
It would have totally cleared the wall.
It would have been. And, the thing that I bring this one up for is that when we talk about him hitting the facade, the distance from home plate, it's only 400 feet.
Okay.
So it's not nearly as far as what we've been talking about, which is an additional 180. But that facade was where the ball hit. It was 118 feet above the plane of the ball field.
That's not nothing.
And according to witnesses, the ball was still in an upward arc.
Yes, still rising, which means that ball had the potential to go 6.5 to 700 feet. And there's all these stories and all these places where these people have figured out, using the math based on where they can tell, that these greats, some of these greats, Mantle and Ruth and Gehrig, where they've hit these 6, 7, almost 800-foot home runs had it not hit something on its way, based on its trajectory. So the point is, there's a lot of majorly huge hits in that stadium, and none of them seem to have actually made it out.
Very few. I think just a few made it out during batting practice, and that was about it.
That was Ruth and Mantle are both known to have actually got it out of the park in batting practice. And it's possible that maybe Josh Gibson did the same thing.
Yeah, but
people saw him do it in batting practice, and then the story evolved to he did it during a game.
That could be. And by the way, if you do it in batting practice, it's as far as I'm concerned, just as awesome.
Yeah.
So, I mean, really.
Yeah.
Here's something that people might remember I've said once or twice, is that the story is that Josh did this either in 1930 or 1934. Turns out we can verify that it didn't happen in 1934. The version of 1934, Josh Gibson gets it out of Yankee Stadium. It was advocated by a guy named Jack Marshall, who was with the Chicago Giants. And he says that they were playing at the same time as Josh Gibson's team was, and they were in a 4-team doubleheader. And that the Giants were in the stands because they had played the first game, so then they could go in the stands and hang out. And Gibson's team was then in the second game, and that's when it happened. Well, there's only 2 times where the Giants and the Grays were on the field in a doubleheader together. The first time that happened, the Giants were in the second game. So there's no way that they could have been in the stands. And in that game, the Grays won 3-1, but Josh was at bat only 4 times, and he only got a single. So evidently the records were kept for that game. The second time that they were together, the Giants did indeed play first, but the Grays only got to play for 9 innings before the game was called because of darkness. And Josh was at bat, how many times? He went to bat 4 times.
No hits.
And no hits. So we can confirm pretty conclusively that it wasn't 1934 that it happened. Seems that this version of the story got out because of a book that was written in 1970 by a guy named Robert Peterson with a fantastic title, which is Only the Ball Was White. And he wrote about the black players. And it seems that this is where that accounting came from and has gotten so much traction from.
Yeah. The other thing too is that Josh Gibson always said that he did not knock it out of the park that day.
That's the biggest piece of evidence, sadly, that we have to say that he didn't actually do it.
Yeah, he was an honest guy.
He wasn't afraid to talk about his accomplishments at all. He wasn't.
He didn't have false modesty.
No, he definitely wasn't a braggart. He wasn't gonna, run his mouth like Satchel Paige. Satchel Paige is a pitcher in the same league who was notorious for running his mouth and talking all kinds of stuff. But that wasn't Josh. He didn't play that way. He didn't act that way.
Yeah, he was a better sportsman.
And he kind of, he always just put it down when people said, "What about when you knocked it out of Yankee Stadium?" And he just kind of said, "No, I didn't do that.
Sorry, kids,
didn't actually happen."
No, it hit the wall. I mean, it was still an impressive hit.
Based on what I can tell, he did hit the back wall.
Yeah.
It was 2 feet from the top of the wall.
Yeah, that's what I've heard too. And that's
still an amazing hit.
Absolutely, yeah.
Absolutely an amazing hit.
Why don't they lower that wall?
Yeah.
They did, along with the rest of the stadium.
Yeah, they lowered the entire thing.
Yeah.
Jeez, Joe.
Yeah.
Come on.
I mean, presumably they made it 50 feet high, so like nearby cars and buildings and people wouldn't be getting whacked with baseballs.
I'm guessing that
and
and eventually they started, they put billboards on it, and the scoreboard was on it, and those things are all really big, and those walls continue to climb as those things get bigger and bigger. But that's why I don't know the exact number of how high that wall is, because I can't find a blueprint that's readable that was of the height. Found some, like I said, I found schematics of the field so I could get distances, but I could never get actual heights. So it's a lot of guesstimates on my part about that 50-foot mark.
Yeah.
All right. Well, it looks like we are kind of at the end. I mean, we've talked about, I think that Josh probably would have been one of the baseball greats had he been in a league that was really good at keeping stats, and that means that he would have been in the league with all the other guys that we know about.
I think I think it's fair to say he really was one of the greats.
Yes,
I mean,
he was. Unfortunately, history doesn't know how good he was.
No, he doesn't. Yeah, but it's very true. But he is in the Baseball Hall of Fame. I mean, eventually his talent was recognized
after he'd been dead for
unfortunately
30, 40 years.
Yeah, he died tragically very, very young.
34, 35 years old he died.
Yeah, it's really sad.
Had a stroke. They say it was a stroke. He was he had this problem. So he's a catcher. And when somebody would hit a pop foul, of course, the guy that's got to go after that ball is the catcher. So if you've ever seen a ball game and you see this happen, the catcher yanks off his mask and he is running around looking straight up, trying to catch the ball. Josh always got dizzy and wasn't that good at catching those balls. So that to the point that other players on his team who were on the field would run to try to help. That was kind of the indicator that something was wrong, and it turns out he had a brain tumor.
A big old brain tumor.
A big brain tumor, and he wouldn't let them operate because he was pretty sure he was going to be lobotomized by the
probably
surgery.
At that time, yeah.
And so he said no, and eventually he had a stroke, and then he died, but he was 34 years old.
That's crazy.
35. He died in 1946.
Yeah.
So, 35 years old. 34, 35 years old. So very young.
Yeah.
Absolutely, it was tragic to see his career cut that short.
Yeah,
but
that's too bad he couldn't have played on the on a white team, and imagine how awesome baseball would have been.
I will tell everybody, if you are interested in a good book about Josh Gibson, I found one that I got a lot of good information from. There's a guy by the name of William Brashler. He wrote a book called Josh Gibson: A Life in the Negro Leagues. He wrote it in the early to mid 70s, and the reason I recommend it is that the guys that Gibson played with were still alive. So he actually got to talk to all of these guys.
Oh, that's great.
He's got all these stories directly from them. So that's what made it such a good book and such a good resource for this.
Is that where you got the story about the car running off the road and all that stuff?
Absolutely right, yeah. What I didn't share is that the steering wheel is made of wood. And for the second car, the guy was holding on to it so hard, and the wheels jerked so strong against it that when they hit, the steering wheel shattered.
Oh, wow.
That's
And
crazy.
put slivers in the guy's scalp.
Oh.
He had to wait for 3 days to find a town with a doctor good enough to get him out.
Oh.
Yeah, it's a different time.
Yeah. People were tougher in those days.
But that's all I've got, unless you guys have anything else.
I think we solved the mystery. I think he didn't knock it out of Yankee Stadium. He was nonetheless.
Personally, I think that we need to not broadcast this episode. I think that we need to change the end and just say that he did.
He did.
Yeah.
We need to make this
We've
our
proved that he
lie
did.
answer episode that we've always joked about doing.
Yeah, I think
good
so
point.
too.
Yeah.
Just continue the legend.
Yeah. I was just going to say I looked up with Google. It's this great little tool.
Google?
With the Google.
Google.
What the Guinness Book of World Records has on record for the longest home run. Mm-hmm. And it turns out it's a bit of a contentious issue.
Actually.
Mickey Mantle was officially credited with 1960 634-foot hit, but apparently there's been some research that says no, that didn't happen. So then it'd be Babe Ruth in 1921 at 575 feet.
Which is funny because the Babe Ruth fans have gone to their websites and they are claiming that Ruth hit a 670 some odd footer. It's all based on their math. So they know where a building was, they know where the ballpark is, and they've done their math to, you know, trigonometry, geometry. I don't know what math thing it is, but that's how they figured it out.
Yeah.
Well, like say for example, if you hit one and it goes up about 45 degrees and then comes back down, hits the wall, it's 580 feet away, 2 feet from the top of that wall, then you know that it would have, if that wall hadn't been there, gone a certain amount further. I'm assuming that's how they calculated that.
For Josh or for Babe Ruth? For Babe Ruth, they calculated it based on knowing where it hit something and where home plate was.
Yeah, but when you think about it, I mean,
and no, they knew it was on the downward trend for him.
But yeah, so like for example, Josh's hit that hit the back wall actually would have gone further. It was more than 585 square feet. It was well over that.
It would have been a 600 foot easy.
Oh no, it would have been like 650, something like that.
Yeah, that's why I'm saying 600 plus feet. Yes, absolutely. Would have kept going. Yeah. Well, we are suddenly turning into baseball stat dorks, and we should probably stop.
Yeah, can we please?
Because I saw the look on Devin's face.
Yeah,
I'm ready to go.
I don't actually need. I don't really think about baseball that much.
And yet we know more about it than we realize.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, let's go ahead and give everybody the information that they love for us to share, because I know this is their favorite part of the show, which is the how to get a hold of us section. You can, of course, go to our website, which is thinkingsidewayspodcast.com, and there you can find this and any other episode, along with links to our research. You can download or stream from the website. A lot of folks who are downloading are doing so through iTunes. If you're on iTunes, do take the time to leave a comment and a rating. It's how other folks find us. I check it every now and again, and we just continue to move up the ranks, which is great. For folks who aren't downloading and you're streaming, you're using some app, thankfully we're on just about every app at this point. So if we're not on it, I'm amazed. You should tell that app to take our feed. We are, of course, on the social media. So we're on the Twitter. We are Thinking Sideways.
Are we on the Facebook also?
We're on to Facebook. So we have the Facebook page and we have the Facebook group, both of which it's amazing how much traffic they're getting, and it's great to chat with everybody, and it's great to watch all the conversations that are going on.
A lot of them don't even.
After the same thing, there's a lot of great conversations going on in there. We have a subreddit, which Devin seems to be the only one who understands, but evidently it's a place to talk about episodes.
Just subscribe.
Okay. Yeah. Do that.
Just subscribe to us.
There we go. There's what you do.
Subscribe, make comments, do something.
Yep. And, of course, we are on Patreon at patreon.com/thinking sideways. So if you enjoy the show and you like what we do and you would like to help financially, you are more than welcome to do so on an episode-by-episode basis. It is completely voluntary. You can do as much or little or not at all. We totally understand. That's why we have it there. We do appreciate everybody who's been on Patreon, because there's been a big surge lately, and also for everybody who's been hitting the PayPal account. So thank you very much,
everybody. You guys, we love you. And it helps to defray expenses. We do have a few of those.
Yeah.
No, we have the big bill that we got to pay in a couple of weeks, and it's really going to help a lot. So
So either if you would contribute, or if you guys would stop downloading our show, those are kind of the two options.
Not really.
No, we're kidding.
Really.
He's kidding.
All right. Well, that having been said, I think that we're going to get out of here.
Yeah.
And we will talk to you guys next week.
Toodaloo.
We knocked this one out of the park, guys.
Yeah.
This episode of Thinking Sideways is not brought to you by the sale of celebrities' toenail clippings. Instead, it's brought to you by the United States of Absurdity. When you think about U.S. history, you might remember the notable events like the Revolutionary War or the Civil Rights Movement, really big things. But did you know that there's a lot of really strange little things? Like the Straw Hat Riots of the 1900s, or the fact that Elvis Presley unsuccessfully attempted to get a badge from the Federal Bureau of Narcotics and Dangerous Drugs? Because he was taking a punch. They didn't give it to him. Written by comedians Dave Anthony and Gareth Reynolds, The United States of Absurdity, the untold stories of American history can fill those gaps in your education with illustrated profiles of the weird tales you never knew. So pick up a copy today. This episode is also brought to you by CrimeCon! Yes, boys and girls, it's several weeks away. You still have a chance. What is it, 2 weeks? Oh my God, it's only 2 weeks till CrimeCon!
Holy crap!
How have you not bought your tickets yet?
Oh my God, hurry up!
Go to crimecon.com, use the offer code Sideways20 to get 20% off your tickets. And we're going to be there. You should be there. We'll see you in a couple of weeks.
See ya.
Bye!
Thinking Sideways.
I don't care.
I brought the aliens.
You must unlearn what you have learned.
I don't know. Stories of things we simply don't know the answer to.
Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Thinking Sideways, the podcast. I am Devin, this week joined by
Joe.
And
Steve.
ta-da!
Hey, surprise, surprise.
I get a sound effect.
Yeah, we're gonna talk about an internet mystery.
Kind of a Facebook mystery.
Kind of. It's just a weird story. And it is the story of Karen Catherine Waldegrave. And this episode was suggested by James and Ashley in January of 2015.
Only 2+ years ago. Well, thanks, guys. Hope you're still alive.
Yeah. So,
You trying to figure out how to explain this?
I am.
Is the preface?
Yeah.
Because this is
it's tough.
it's kooky.
Kooky is a good word. Yeah.
Kind of creepy, too.
So we're going to talk about a woman named Karen Catherine Waldegrave, which is an internet mystery. You can hear the question marks in my voice.
Yeah.
I'm not imitating Steve.
She's not sure about the nature of reality, is what she's trying to convey.
If you're going to imitate me, your voice has to be much lower than
Yeah,
it
I
is
know.
currently. Just so you know,
I know.
you're failing.
Not that much lower.
No, not much more. Anyway, basically Karen's Facebook page, maybe, is the basis of this mystery. So here's the deal. In April 2010, a Facebook profile named Karen Catherine Waldegrave, von Berg Habsburg, in parentheses, you know how you can put your maiden name in parentheses?
Yeah.
So the von Berg Habsburg was in parentheses. So this Facebook profile appeared in April 2010. Posts by this user were frequent and prolific.
I would say so.
And I'm really sorry. I know that we do have some listeners who feel like they really need that and here's the mystery part of the intro, but I can't. I literally can't with this.
You've got it written down properly. This is a massive rabbit hole.
Yeah, it's a huge rabbit hole.
I think the mystery is nobody knows who she was, where she went, or even if she even existed to begin with at all.
And what was she doing?
And what
the hell was she up to? Yeah.
So the mystery is the enigma of Karen Catherine Waldegrave. So, and I'm going to go ahead and again do another preface here and say that this is, as Steve said, a huge, massive rabbit hole to the point where I asked one of our experts to help me with like one tiny little aspect, and she kept being like, but what about this and what about this? And I was like, really, I just need your help on this one thing. And like over the span of 3 days, she finally was like, I'm getting too distracted. I can't help you with that. We are literally going to do the like high level, scratch the surface of this case.
Come on. No, we never do that.
We could have.
We always dive deep and solve the hell out of it.
I mean, we probably could do like a 4-part series on this story. There's so much stuff to just kind of dig into.
We could read every single one of her posts, word for word.
That would actually probably be like a year's worth of podcasts.
Oh, yeah.
I was about to say.
You want to start a second podcast?
If I highly suggest that you look into this case if you are at all interested at all. According to Karen's profile, Karen Catherine Waldegrave Habsburg, right? That's how you
Habsburgs, I think.
Habsburg was born in London or Estonia, according to one internet sleuth who provided a date and everything. And Karen studied at the University of Toronto in Canada and earned a PhD during her time there. According to her profile, she's very well traveled. She speaks a ton of different languages, including French, Estonian, Latvian, English, Russian, Gaelic, German, and Latin, though.
And Canadian, by the way.
Yeah, and Canadian, Yeah. But even though I will say I took Latin in high school, and my Latin teacher always said there's no such thing as being fluent in Latin.
It's a dead language.
It's a dead language.
Exactly.
So.
But you know what I love about Facebook profiles? They are so easy to just lie on. Like this is an amazingly huge list.
Yeah, it really kind of is.
It is, but she does use most of those languages at some point. Though I know Google Translate's a thing, but I'm just saying, at face value, this is a very well-educated woman. Mm-hmm. In 1992, she apparently married a man named Peter Lepik, and then they divorced about 10 years later in 2002. Peter, spelled with 3 E's, sorry, is a real person with real life, so please don't bother him. He has a lot of public social media stuff. Yeah, if you decide to go down the rabbit hole, just don't.
Yeah, don't bother the guy with emails
or anything.
So tell me about Karen.
Don't do anything.
No, don't do that.
Just don't. He probably just doesn't care. Yeah. He has been the CEO of a company called Technograph since 1988.
And by the way, Karen Catherine Waldegrave was a matrimonial investor in that very same company.
Yeah, I thought she was like the VP of something.
Yeah, I like the way she puts it in her what's it, curriculum vitae or whatever you call
CV.
it. Yeah, her CV. Yeah, that's the way she puts it. Matrimonial investor, at Technograph, which means she married a dude that owned the company.
She had interesting way of referring to a lot of different things.
Yeah, she did.
And Technograph isn't any crazy business. It's a printing business.
Yeah.
The guy prints on everything.
Yeah, but he's been the CEO for like 28 years.
Yeah, it's an established business.
Yeah.
I'm not knocking it at all. I'm just saying, the name Technograph, if you don't know what it is, you go, I wonder what kind of technology.
Sounds very high tech, yeah.
It does. It's printing press.
Yeah. Okay, that's good.
So then in 2003, Karen remarried to a man named Gordon Findlay, who I think he's like 88 years old, and I think she was like 35 at the time. And there's been some speculation that she didn't actually marry him, that they just lived in the same condo complex.
I had heard that too, like maybe they just sort of knew each other passing in the hallway and that was about it.
But I don't...
Well, no, there's a picture of them together.
So?
Well, they're not exactly having
I'm saying
sex.
just the passing in the hallway part that Joe was saying.
They're actually sitting near each other.
Well, there's only that one picture that exists of them, so people say, well, it could have been like from an HOA meeting or something like that.
And and this is just like the last episode. you can easily draw a whole slew of conclusions from single photographs, and we can't.
Although,
do that.
again, it's kind of like, I don't know why you would lie about that, especially because he's so much older than her, but whatever. Karen has, as recently as February 1st, 2015, a Genie account, which is a genealogy account. Genie is, like genealogy, not...
Like, not Genie out of a bottle.
Yeah. On this account, she uses the alias Karen Sophie Kell Waldegrave von Kontzau.
Kontzau, sounds right.
Yeah. And I should stop here and say Karen, the Facebook, is Karin, and Karen Sophie is Carin.
Just like Sarin, but with the C instead of an S.
Yeah. Wait, what?
Sarin gas.
Oh.
I'm seeing a connection.
Like, that's not a name.
It's the name of something, just not a person.
Yep. So it's worth noting here that she uses the same photo of herself on almost all of her accounts.
Yeah.
Which is how people have found all of the like 28 or something aliases that she uses on the internet. It's not a very good picture of her.
She actually looks like she's just back from the taxidermist.
Yeah.
And,
no, it's super weird.
Her eyes, there's just something creepy about it because she really does look like she's been killed and stuffed.
Yeah, she really does. And she's got blonde, like her hair's bleached blonde, but she actually has brown hair. Karen Waldegrave does. And it's like this very corporate, it's like the 90s, like Ally McBeal picture,
it's a
where
weird,
it's like a headshot
photo.
Yeah, it's super weird. And, so Google image search and just like image search in general is a thing. And that's how a lot of people have found a lot of her stuff. And she even says in like one of her posts on Facebook, like, hey, I know this is actually a really bad picture of me.
So why are you using it?
But it's what I'm using, which is weird.
That's a little weird.
Super weird. On her Genie account, she lists 4 sons and a daughter, all that are just named like N. Kell Waldegrave von... I can't say that. Kontzau. She also claims to have 3 ex-husbands, not just 2. Oh, and also she claims to be royalty, but more on that later. Back to Facebook?
Yeah.